like you said, the thing that Jordan Peterson said doesn't happen in Vietnam.
Right.
Like, and for example, like the the second wave feminism just hit Vietnam like a month ago. Like some famous book from famous author like Bell Hooks, for example,
Bell
like
hooks.
feminism for everybody. It just hit Vietnam like a month ago actually,
Wow.
and so when someone like radical feminism get roasted, and Peterson talk to some like aggressive feminism and stuff like that, people just look like
Yeah. What is he
just
talking
watch
about?
that and
Yeah. It doesn't make any
yeah,
sense in Vietnam. Right.
actually like they look at it and they react as if like they're watching Harry Potter roasting someone like Draco Malfoy or something like that.
Right.
It's just
He's just
something
a,
like
yeah. He might as well be a fictional character because it's so far away and so different.
yeah. But the problem is that some part of the Vietnamese community actually believe that it's actually happening in Vietnam, while it's actually not. Obviously, because there is protesting is illegal here, for
Right.
example, obviously. So something like radical movement, any radical movement is impossible to exist inherently.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the you know the Eastern tradition is actually kind of patriarchal. So what the feminine said is somewhat right and appropriate in Vietnam and
Yeah.
some in Eastern country,
Right. Well, it's
actually.
if like it's wow, I've never talked to someone who lives in well, Vietnam or even Asia broadly. I think so. It's interesting. They just
Mhm.
kind of because there's so many assumptions and things I take for granted. Like I say, the society that we live in is affords all kinds of rights to women and is very progressive. But like you just said, Vietnam is a more patriarchal society. So the idea that the more radical militant aspects of feminism, let's say, well, that makes sense more in Vietnam because, how would you describe it as patriarchal? I mean, like, are women treated less than men generally, or how would you say it?
How do I say it? Because okay, so for example, like we have tradition from the monarchy for the from the we have tradition from the monarchy that still exists to this very day. For like for example, like each every year, so we're gonna have a party basically to celebrate or to remembering the deaths of our grandparents and even grandparents and father and forefather. So each event like that, the woman in the house gonna prepare foods, and the man basically don't have to do anything. And when the food was done, the women they sit in a separate place, which is you know lower lower in a geographic term
Sure, sure, sure.
to compare to men. So, for example, like men sat on a high table and women sat on the ground
Wow.
and stuff like that. But people pointed it out recently, and they just get rid of that kind of ideology, or
Interesting.
just part of tradition. So we still kept the tradition, well, celebrating our forefather, but we, trying to get rid of the ugly part of that
Yeah.
tradition.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're saying this happened somewhat recently, you said? Like in the last couple months, or has that, because you said the Bell Hooks book arrived sort of in the last couple months. So like getting
Yeah.
rid of that part of the tradition, is that recent?
No, no, actually, because I was saying that they started to recognize that the that part of the tradition is should be getting rid of
Right, right,
recently,
right, right.
and actually that's a good thing.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Yeah, definitely.
to say that this the Eastern society is rather patriarchal is sort of true because you know women like after like for example like we have the monarchy and we have a really Confucius tradition for a long, long time. And when it comes to, you know, upholding our, traditional ceremony and stuff, there always gonna be some patriarchal elements about that. So for example, like on every Lunar New Year's, my mom has to stay at my house to prepare a lot of food to prepare for the New Year's. And while, me and my father can go out and watch the firework, for example, when the woman have to stay
Right.
in the house
Yeah.
preparing food.
That doesn't seem particularly fair.
Actually, it's like when it comes like in a hard time in the past, there are going to be a lot of hard time for both men and women. So the task for women is different from the task for the man. So man has to do a lot of hard working and difficult, this make many difficult decisions since we are a small country and get invaded a lot. We get
Yeah.
invaded by China more than 1,000 years, and
Yeah.
then the France, the
Yeah.
American, and the Civil War and stuff like that. So
Right.
the duty for man is a lot heavier, I would say, but the duty for women is a lot concrete. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to do a certain things, and if you do it, then it's fine. But the problem is the woman complain when the man doesn't live up to the standard, actually,
Right. Well,
because if
when
the
you're
man
not
live up to the
yeah, when you're not being
yeah.
invaded, the men aren't really doing as much in that case, right?
Yeah, for example, like if the man actually bring home the money, bring home the and love his family, and it's fine. The patriarchal work. But when the man, useless, doesn't bring home money, like me, for example, I still try my ass off to survive, and
Right.
then my girlfriend gonna complain like, when are you gonna get a job, a
Yeah.
decent job, you know?
Right. She's not going to sit in and make food if you're just hanging outside playing video games and watching the Sonic
Yeah.
the movies, right? You get
Yeah.
yes, that's funny. Wow. Well, that makes sense.